So basically, it's kind of the question sort of disappeared a little bit, seeing as you kind of mentioned it. So, in my eyes, I'm thinking now, do I mention the framework a little bit and then go on to expand on what is important to me as values, or do I just not mention it at all?
Give me an example. So, what sort of question would that lead into? What would your answer be the question to?
What do you mean, sorry?
So,
So,
so as an interviewer, if I asked you what values are important to you, what
yeah.
would you say?
So
What,
that's what I'm umming and ahhing about, whether to give the values of that are on the framework and then go on to expand on my own personal one, or whether just to do my own.
look, you want to persuade me that you're the 4 o'clock in the person, 4 o'clock in the morning person, not the person that knows the CVF inside and out.
Right. Okay. So can you talk about your own personal examples? Like, I've worked with people in crisis, so I feel like I could bring a lot into that.
Please do. And I'd want to hear more. So actually, Maisie, tell me more. You work with people in crisis. Tell me what sort of people have you been working in crisis with and what sort of crisis?
So I work within the mental health field, and I work for the crisis pad in Hull. And we've got a lot of people diagnosed with schizophrenia, depression, anything really, personality disorders. And we have people that have just come out of mental health units or are about to go in. So we have a lot of communication with the mental health units around Hull,
Yeah.
and I recently shadowed in one actually, so that was really interesting. And we do a lot of suicide prevention, really. So a lot of people tend to threaten to go to the bridge near us um,
Yeah.
after being with us. So we do actually get in touch with the police a lot as well, which is kind of why I'm thinking that that role is more suitable to me after working in mental health for a good few years now. Um, so so yeah, because
Stop
I'd like to be at
Stop
the forefront of helping.
Okay. Oh, you're about to go into cliche zone. No, don't do the forefront of helping. No, 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 please. No, you're doing so well until that point. Okay, so we're going to change one thing. We're going to stop saying we, and we're going to say we're going to own it and say I. I'm
Uh,
involved in. I find this. I find that difficult. Actually, on that difficult, share with me a few lines, Maisie, on what part of your role do you find particularly difficult and challenging?
I find it difficult sometimes when you give people, service users, a lot of time and they only want to see suicide as the only answer. But we often deal with a lot of service users day
Uh,
in.
who deals with?
I deal with a lot of service users day in, day out,
Yeah.
who become regulars, and a lot of them make trauma bonds with each other. And let me give you an example. So a few of them have been through previous sexual abuse and things, and they've become friends as a result of opening up about experiences. Now, I don't think that is the issue. The issue is after speaking to them at the crisis pad, I have then overheard them say, let's go for a night out after this. And I don't think that's them utilising the crisis pad as they should be. So that can be quite frustrating sometimes.
Right, I hear you. Okay. And if you could further translate that into your future role as a police officer, that'd be even better. But we could work on that another time. Now, let me ask you another question if I can. I'd love to go deep on this and actually spend 5 or 10 minutes with you on this one, because this would be like a little
No
one-to-one.
pressure. Whew.
This is like what we do in the academy, that we dive deep. So let me ask you this question then. So based on all of that, and dealing with people in those sort of challenging and difficult situations, especially people who have been victims of sexual abuse and are at risk of serious harm and harming themselves and others, what would you say the one value is that you display towards them that makes the difference?
There's a lot of different values, I
No,
feel.
just one. Just one. One.
Okay.
One. The one
Um,
main one.
Giving them the time.
That's giving people time isn't a value. That's just a practice.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, then I would go off compassion, which is kind of what you've already mentioned, but just developing that answer a little bit, just being the listening ear. A lot of the time it's for these service users coming in, there can be new time users, and you're the first person they're coming to about the situation prior to the police, generally speaking. So it just providing that active listening ear and just being there for them and understanding. You don't need to be sympathetic and kind of sorry that they've been through that. Yeah, they might get that a lot. It's more about being empathetic and understanding them as a person rather than what they've been through.
Awesome. Okay, great. And if we had more time, I'd be asking you empathetic and understanding. What do you mean by that? I'd be asking you to go even deeper. So when you use phrases like empathetic, I'd want you to explain it. And then we'd wrap all of that up, Maisie, with something like, and this is something I feel as though I could really bring this to policing. And actually this relates to one of the Peelian principles, because it was Sir Robert Peel in 1829, the founder of the police service, said that one of the roles of a police officer is to be a friend to all. And I feel as though by being that listening ear, I'm a friend to them in their time of need, at the time they need someone the most, where everyone else is shunning them and spurning them. They know they can turn to me, and I'll always be there for them. Boom. There's your answer. So what do you think now, Maisie? Do you think you should mention shit from this, or do you think you should just go straight deep into what we've just been talking about?
Go deep into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what I want to hear. I want to hear about the real Maisie and the challenges and the difficulties and the things that you struggle with, the things that make you tick, that compassion, that being able to listen to people who, I know the sort of people you're talking about because I've been a police officer and I've dealt with them. I mean, emotionally draining. You must go back from work sometimes just completely drained.
There is a lot of compassion fatigue with it.
Yeah.
But working in mental
Oh,
health generally.
Maisie, we could talk forever. You're now starting to talk about compassion fatigue, and we
Yeah.
could even more about how you'd want to take steps once you're a police officer to avoid compassion fatigue. Oh, straight away I'll be passing you. So the other thing now, Maisie, is if I was interviewing you and that was the first thing we were talking about, and I hope you're all listening to this, folks, because this is seriously good stuff now. If this was the start of the interview and I'd be asking a few probing questions there just to get a little bit more understanding, or I might ask them at the end, I'm already on side. I've got a bias towards you, Maisie. I've got a bias towards you. And some of you may be thinking, isn't that unfair? Shouldn't they be objective? Well, they should. But remember, people have had no training, don't understand this. They're interested in finding the people who are going to be working well on their team at 4 o'clock in the morning. I've already got a bias towards you because you understand the world that I'm in. I can see you fitting in. I can see you at 4 o'clock in the morning being dispatched to that sudden death of a 3-month-old baby and offering that greatest gift that you possibly can to the parents who'll be so grief stricken. You'll have never seen anything like it, but you'll be that compassionate listening ear. So whereas HR might score you a 3 on one of your answers, I'd be changing my 3 to a 5. I say I scored her a 5 because of this. Maybe nudge that 3 up to a 4. And they'd be like, yeah, you're right. Because that's the conversation that goes on after you walk out the door. Whereas if you came out with a load of shite from the CVF and there's a possibility of a 3, I might be thinking I'm going to score her a 2 actually because she tried to bullshit me. Is that making sense, Maisie?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. And thank you for sharing something of your role there, and kudos to you. I love what you're doing. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to take on that role. I love what you're doing. Kudos to you. If you were on my interview panel, my bias is such that I'd probably be actually asking a few questions that are off script. If you went off at a tangent, I'd be bringing you back. The bias would be there. The bias would be there. Anyway, thank you, Maisie. Thank you for sharing that. Everyone give Maisie, awesome, super awesome, Maisie. Super awesome. Thank you. Brilliant. All right, where was I? I got super distracted there, didn't I? But hopefully that was useful. Was that useful, folks? Like, seriously, you know, when people say in the Facebook group, and I know one or two of them people have knocked me for it, just saying, yeah, well, when they say just be yourself, that's what they mean, just be yourself. That what Maisie's just done there is being herself. That's being yourself. But when they say be yourself and just act naturally, what Maisie's just demonstrated there is that. Now, if what we do is take what Maisie's just said and we structure it in the right way, and we make sure we had the right detail. So you notice with Maisie, I was asking her, so what do you mean by? What do you mean by? So give me an example of what's the most difficult thing? What would you say the one value is? And correcting her a little bit when she's saying, oh, time. No, time's not a value. What's the real value? Changing the we to an I. And a ton of other stuff. If we had a lot more time, Maisie, we'd really clean that up and it'd just be, oh, I tell you, you just like that have this stunning answer that would just be like, you could incorporate it into why do you want to join the police, the role of a police officer, the values, the challenges. You can incorporate all of what we've just talked about there and more into all of those sort of questions. And straight away, get the bias working towards you. And I know some of you might be thinking once again, but that seems a bit unfair. Hey, whoever said the world was fair? Whoever said the world was fair? And I've got a bias towards the sort of people who I think are going to be able to work with us at 4 a.m. Because the last thing I want as a sergeant or inspector is some fellow sergeant or inspector saying 6 months down the road, hey, Brendan, did you interview that Simon guy? Like, you know, Simon such and such a person. And I'm like, oh, not sure. Yeah, you did. Because we're about to Reg 13 him out because I've never seen such incompetence in my life. His values are atrocious. The way he behaves towards people is just like it's an embarrassment. We're Reg 13, he's going to get a Reg 13 and he's going out. Did you recruit him? Oh, yeah, I did, yeah. What the F were you thinking? I don't want to be that inspector. I want to be the inspector who's like, hey, did you recruit that Simon? Did you recruit that Maisie? Maisie, she's just amazing. Just like, she dealt with the sudden death of a 3-month-old the other day. And oh my goodness, you would have thought she had 5 years service and she's just incredible. I recruited her. And that's the game. That's the game, folks. That's the game. All started off with Vince Sweeney back in 2001. Right. Frontline officers, interviewing student officers. I'm not going to have inspectors pecking my head at the inspectors course about the standard of recruits. Let them recruit them.